Hello, vinyl community. It's Bill here again, and I hope you're all doing well out there in vinyl community land, whether you're this side of the pond or the other or down under. So I've come along today to do acquisitions and divestments report for the Q3 of 2022. As usual, there are no divestments, but I suspect in Q4 there might be. We'll see. So I want to go through a few vinyl pickups and some DVDs. So we'll start off with one of my favorite artists, and this is Jack White and the Entering Heaven Alive album. Sorry, it's still in the shrink wrap, so it looks a bit shiny. Some very interesting sort of civil defense, preparing for a nuclear war. Is that too close to home? These are photographs from I think the late 50s or early 60s in the US. Quite chilling, some of these images. And the inner sleeve has got some other photographs from that era. Surprise, surprise, it's on black vinyl. No colored vinyl in this edition. But it also comes with a nice inset two-tone blue and white, sort of keeping up with the branding of Jack White's solo career in the blues, black and white. So yeah, this is, well, I suppose a companion album from Fear of the Dawn. I thought I'd take this out because there is a reference back to one of the songs on the Fear of the Dawn album. So this is a lot less avant-garde and out there. The Fear of the Dawn had some interesting soundscapes. So this is more tending towards Americana, rather than raw blues. But yeah, there's some really nice tunes on here. Some of them have some very disturbing titles, such as If I Die Tomorrow, A Tree on Fire from Within, A Madman from Manhattan, and Please God, Don't Tell Anyone. And yeah, Queen of the Bees and I've Got You Surrounded with My Love. So really nice tracks. So Taking Me Back Gently is a version of a song that's on the Fear of the Dawn album, but it is at a slower tempo. And some beautiful violin from someone called Fats Kaplan. There's also some nice piano on it as well. And Olivia Jean does the shakers. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it's the Madman from Manhattan. There's almost a cool jazz feel to it. There's some really interesting instruments on it. There's a Septavox synthesizer and a Wurlitzer piano. And yeah, just as you'd expect from Jack, some very creative sounds. But as I say, it's on a much gentler pace and some really nice piano. So I would thoroughly recommend Entering Heaven Alive. by Jack White, the second of his 2 albums he's released in 2022. Now, going to go back in time here, especially for me. I picked this one up from my local Oxfam shop, which is like a thrift store in the UK, and managed to pick up a really nice copy of The Beatles featuring Tony Sheridan. And it's got the newspaper bundle with Beatles top poll. And this is very interesting that it's a gatefold, because I used to own this album in the late 60s, early 70s, or maybe it's rather my mum and dad did. And they thought it was cool that they had a Beatles album. But yeah, it wasn't a proper Beatles album. So when I got the Blue album, 67 to 70, then I thought we had proper Beatles. Though we did have a couple of their early 45s, She Loves You and Can't Buy Me Love. But this was also in the home where I was growing up. Except the copy I had, I don't know if it was Music for Pleasure or something like that, but it definitely didn't have a gatefold or this quote from George Harrison on the back saying that, you know, the band got very tight in Hamburg. But yeah, the track listing, the ones you'll know are Ain't She Sweet and Cry for a Shadow, a Harrison Lennon composition. Yeah, very much in the Hank Marvin and the Shadows, let's say, way of delivery. So it's almost a real rip-off from the Shadows, but give George and John their due. It's a really nice song. And I think there's My Bonnie, which I think was the record that maybe introduced Brian Epstein to the Beatles on record and how popular they were in Liverpool. But yeah, there's also What I Say, the Ray Charles and Jerry Lee Lewis covered it as well, and a traditional song that makes everybody cry, which is Nobody's Child. And yeah, When the Saints Go Marching In and Sweet Georgia Brown, plus Let's Dance, which is, did the Bay City Rollers do a version of that? And yeah, there's it's interesting illustration, which I think has got nothing to do with the record, and some photographs from Hamburg, and quite a nice write-up about it as well. Tony Sheridan is a great vocalist. Sometimes I think he wants to be Elvis Presley, and other times I think he wants to be Jerry Lee. But yeah, really nice document of their time in Hamburg. And I think a couple of the tracks on here are on the Beatles Anthology 1 collection as well. And speaking about anthologies, the other great pickup was this, the Beatles Anthology. I think there was a TV series. I don't know. I think I might have missed it when it was on the television, but I don't know what it was competing against on the other channel or other channels. But yeah, nice 5 DVDs, and there's parts 1 to 8, 2 chapters on each DVD and 1 on special features. So it covers, well, it's got some footage of John Lennon interviews on Parkinson and maybe some American chat shows. And there's Ringo being interviewed in Los Angeles, and there's George being interviewed in his home somewhere in England, and Paul McCartney's also interviewed. And there are sections where Paul, George, and Ringo are in the same room. And I'm not sure if they're not quite recalling exactly what happened, but and there's also interviews with George Martin and some great live clips from Shea Stadium. There's clips from the movies Help and Hard Day's Night and Magical Mystery Tour. And there was a video of the Sgt. Pepper's where they had the faces on the cover by Sir Peter Blake, sort of dancing about, and there's the flowers that says Beatles. So the video shows these flowers popping up through the ground. So I'd never seen that before, so that was worth the entrance fee alone. So that's the Beatles. So trying to plug a couple of gaps in my collection. And then this one is, I think I said on another video that the soundtrack from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was what introduced Americana. But I think this album by the band is probably roots music and Americana from the late 60s, early 70s. This is really nice gatefold on this. Some photos of the band. The iconic cover as well. So it's got a real rootsy feel. We've got Garth Hudson on organ, clavinet, piano, accordion, soprano, tenor, and baritone sax, and slide trumpet. Richard Manuel on vocals, piano, drums, baritone sax, and mouth harp. Levon Helm on vocals, drums, mandolin, and guitar. Rick Danko on vocals, bass, violin, and trombone. And James Robbie Robertson on guitar. What it doesn't say on this album is that it's a 45 RPM double album. So nowhere on the record or on the sleeve does it tell you that. So you find out when you try and play it at 33 that it's a bit slow. But yeah, this has got some great songs. Across the Great Divide, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Up on Cripple Creek, Rocking Chair, Looking Out on Cleveland, King Harvest Has Surely Come, plus The Unfaithful Servant and various others. Great album, highly recommended. So I was able to add Raise the Roof to my collection. And this is a nice follow-up to Raising Sand. Speaking about the Everleys, The Price of Love, one of their compositions, is on here. There's also a really nice rendition of It Don't Bother Me, a Bert Jansch song, and High and Lonesome, a sort of Robert Plant and T-Bone Burnett. And yeah, quite a variety of songs from other songwriters on here. Gatefold with the lyrics and details of who's playing what on which track. Yes, some really nice pedal steel guitar on this. And variations. So you've got some songs are like a straight duet with Robert and Alison. Others, Alison takes the lead and Robert will come in with others on the chorus. And there's some with Robert doing the lead and Alison's not on the track at all. So really nice collection, quite a nice cover as well. I like that. Now the next one was a Holy Grail. It's taken me a long time to find this one, but I found it at last. So it's the White Stripes XX, and it is really nice package. So I think with the Third Man's subscription service, where you sign up and give so much a month and they'll send you random records. One of the random records to mark the 20th anniversary of the White Stripes debut album was this one called XX, or is it called 20? I'm not sure. Nice peppermint sweet on the cover, as well as this is the reproduced cover of the original album. Now, there are two records in here. One's on red vinyl and one's on white vinyl. It'll come out. So the white album, not the Beatles' white album, the white vinyl is self-titled LP outtakes. So we've got Sugar Never Tasted So Good, which is a very sort of primitive but precise drumming and door knocking and beautiful acoustic guitar. We've got When I Hear My Name, which reminds me of sort of Led Zeppelin riffs with electric blues and really loud percussion, but very effective. Meg keeping the beat extremely well. And there's some studio talk between some of the tracks. I thought on Why Can't You Be Nicer to Me, the drums sounded a bit like the percussion of We Will Rock You by Queen, but there's great vocals from Jack White, a nice driving beat. One of the tracks, the vocals sound as though Jack's underwater or he's muffled. I don't know if somebody's put a sock in it, but very strange. And on the Dead Leaves acoustic demo, there's really nice raw percussion, but perfectly matched to the electric guitar. The guitar work on I Fought the Piranhas, it's a wonderful sort of piercing sound, really nice. And then that's followed with Let's Build a Home. Really good, but seems to come to a premature end. And then on the song Screwdriver, that's very reminiscent of the rawness of the early Who. And then on the second album, second disc, it's on red vinyl, and it's a live set from the town of Raleigh in North Carolina. They do a version of I'm Bored, an Iggy Pop song, and it's got a very punk rock feel, which surprised me a little. But yeah, the live set is exceptional, and really enjoyed that. Inside the front bit of the gatefold, we have a really nice sort of booklet documenting the early years of the White Stripes. Nice Polaroid photos there. And there's, what is it? Ghetto recorders, that this yellow tinted sort of, must have had like a carbon copy behind it as well, but it's got dates of the recordings and how many hours and how much the recording studio in Detroit, Michigan is charging them for it. And as well as some of the really nice photographs and details of posters where they were performing. There is also, as well as a track listing for what's on each of the two vinyl discs, there's also a DVD. Now, the DVD has got some very early recordings of the White Stripes live. It's sort of looking, somebody filming from the back of the auditorium or the small venue, and it's not very professionally done, but it is showing Jack and Meg in the early days of their performances. It doesn't quite do it for me, but yeah, spent a lot on that package. But yeah, the vinyl is excellent, and I really like the booklet too. The interesting thing, that's maybe not interesting, but the person I bought it from on Discogs sent it to me on the original packaging that they had received it from Third Man Records. So on the spine it says your turntable is not dead. The other bit it says Third Man Records, and answers on a postcard. Is it worth keeping this outer packaging with the XX set, or is that just plain stupid? And yeah, why bother? Put it into the recycling bill. So I'd be very interested in your views on whether I should keep this or not. And then we have the last of the acquisitions for Q3 2022. And this is Steve Earle's El Corazon. And this is a really nice album. Steve Earle has got a very distinctive voice, and yeah, a very sort of country feel to his, or country rock feel to his output or his whole catalogue. On the opening track, Christmas in Washington, with the sort of lyric about come back Woody Guthrie, it mentions that there's a harmonium is one of the instruments, and a mandola. I had no idea what a mandola is, but seemingly a mandola to a mandolin is the same as a viola to a violin. So there you have it. And if you're like me, you're still none the wiser. The second track, Tannytown, could be the White Stripes playing it. It's got that sort of feel to it. And then I Still Carry You Around with the Del McCoury band has a really nice rendition on mandolin by Ronnie McCoury. And then I really like Telephone Road with the Fairfield Four. And Jim Hoke plays a baritone sax. And it's got a wonderful quality of I'm not sure if it's woodwind or brass, but yeah, the baritone sax sounds awesome. So that's sort of some of the tracks from side one. Side two, you've got You Know the Rest, NYC, Fort Worth Blues, and The Other Side of Town, amongst others. And a nice photo of Steve Earle on the back. I think I've really enjoyed all those acquisitions. I haven't quite got through all the Beatles DVDs. I think I'm up to the Magical Mystery Tour, so I've still got some of chapter 7 and 8 to watch, and I haven't looked at the special features yet. But I think the really interesting parts are on chapters 1 and 2, when you see some of the photographs of the early Beatles, and George, Paul, and Ringo are speaking about their experiences. And of course, Ringo, I think there's a bit where there's reference to them going to Buckingham Palace to collect their MBEs. And Ringo said the Queen said to him, so I believe you started the band. And Ringo has to say, no, I was the last one to join. And there's also talk about them being quite nervous before they go into the huge room in the palace to be presented. They're presented with their honours, that they went to the toilet to have a cigarette, said George Harrison. And I think later John Lennon claimed that it was a spliff, but no, I think George is adamant that it was just an ordinary cigarette. But yeah, you can see false news has been around for a long time. So, but that's it for me. And I shall be back with maybe some random records and music ephemera, or I might jump on another thread. So I'll be back, and you take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye just now.